Well, Merry Christmas, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, full of Christmas cheer because our Christmas angel, Gary Busey, brought you a wonderful gift.
Hey, it's Gary Busey, and I have got a great Christmas present for you. Listen to this. Honk! Honk! That's what a goose sounds like when they're flying. They let you know they're up there. Honk! Honk! You get a bunch of geese together. Honk, honk, honk. They're honking in the air.
That's a Christmas miracle. It just warms my heart to hear that. All right, enough of the fun and games. Let's get into the news of the day because this story got way out of hand about the Brown shooter. So at Brown University, you've probably seen a ton of coverage of this double murder and a bunch of other people got injured. Not to minimize it, but it got a whole lot of attention. And I guess I remember maybe seeing like a headline floating through on my social media about some MIT professor being killed, but it wasn't a school shooting, it wasn't a mass shooting. It was just like one guy. And so it really wasn't that big of a story. And I had no idea they were connected. And apparently they were. He had killed this dude too. And then the method by which they caught the guy, this is all wild. First, here's the summary from Fox News.
We begin with a Fox News alert. The suspect in the Brown University killings has been found dead inside a storage facility in New Hampshire with a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
He killed himself inside the storage unit, and the firearms were found at his in the area of his thigh and in the area of his feet. We are 100% confident that this is our target. And that this case is closed from a perspective of pursuing people involved.
Authorities say he is Portuguese. He's a Portuguese national, went to Brown University for a year in the PhD program in the early 2000s, never graduated. Before that, he went to school in Lisbon, and his classmate was an MIT professor who authorities say the suspect also murdered at his home in the Boston suburbs, just days after the Brown University shooting.
Okay, so there's a connection between the shooter and the MIT professor. They went to college at the same time. That's got to be more than a coincidence. I don't know the connection to the two people that he shot and killed on campus, on Brown University. Nobody knows, or they're not telling us yet. The motive is still elusive, so that's strange. There was a guest on Fox News this morning, Paul Morrow, who was explaining how the hero in helping cops find the double shooter, I guess triple shooter now, is a homeless fellow.
Yeah, you know, there were echoes of Mangione in this thing because this guy was nowhere near as clever as he thought he was. You know, he graduated or he went to Brown, he didn't graduate. But, you know, he thought of himself, I'm sure, as some engineering genius, and so he did this methodical thing where he cased the place and all this other stuff. Well, not only was that how they also picked him up on video when they went out to the residential area, but that's where he encountered somebody who ultimately was his downfall. So he goes in, he's casing around in the place, and, you know, Lawrence, it's an interesting thing. I'm actually not that surprised that it was a homeless person that stepped up. I'm going to tell you why. Homeless people know everything that's going on in the vicinity of where they've decided to squat. Even if it's a cardboard box outside. You know, when I was on foot patrol, if you buy a homeless guy a Snapple, he'll tell you everything that's going on in your patrol block in 10 minutes. He knows everything. So this guy, he did the thing that homeless people very often do. They're actually proprietary about, you know, as the saying goes, be it ever so humble, right? And so that's why he says, you know, this guy doesn't belong here. Nobody knows that building like this guy that was living downstairs next to the boiler or something. Shows you how bad the security protocols were. But it does show you just a sort of human dynamic here that he felt something was off. He followed this guy. He scared the guy ran. But then he came forward, as we know now, and he's the one who allowed the police to button the whole thing up.
All right, well, as far as I'm concerned on the James Show, that counts as a Christmas miracle.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Thank you, angel of a homeless man, who recognized some guy was just acting weird. Scared him off, gave the tip that saved the day, and now coming up next on the James Show. I'll tell you what more we know, but if you have any theories on what this guy's motive could be, or am I missing something, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227, because I was thinking this might be another Antifa attack, this might be another Trantifa attack, this might be an upset Muslim terrorist attack. I did not have anywhere, even on my bingo card, that it would be a Portuguese guy with a grudge. Just that hasn't been on any of my bingo cards ever. So 800-288-9227. All theories are welcome until we know more information. Now, let's stop down for the last day for the 2025 fundraiser for the Denton State Supported Living Center. Derek, give me good news. Globe Life. They can fill up Globe Life still? All right, Guns N' Roses. Two one four 525-2550. Thank you, Derek. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, let me fill you in on the new stuff that we know about the shooter at Brown University. I'm James Parker on The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. If you're just joining us, they caught the guy last night, and there was just a little bit of daylight between when I saw on my social media feeds that they've identified the guy and issued a warrant for his arrest. And it felt like minutes later, there was another headline that scrolled right past it that said his body was found dead in a storage facility. Here's the breakdown from Fox News.
We begin with a Fox News alert. The suspect in the Brown University killings has been found dead inside a storage facility in New Hampshire with a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
He killed himself inside the storage unit, and the firearms were found at his in the area of his thigh and in the area of his feet. We are 100% confident that this is our target, and that this case is closed from a perspective of pursuing people involved.
Authorities say he is Portuguese. He's a Portuguese national, went to Brown University for a year in the PhD program in the early 2000s, never graduated. Before that, he went to school in Lisbon, and his classmate was an MIT professor who authorities say the suspect also murdered at his home in the Boston suburbs, just days after the Brown University shooting.
Okay, so here's the additional information that we've learned since last night. This fella actually lived close to Brown University. In fact, he lived close to that specific building where he did the shooting. He used different addresses, one that included Miami. There was one in Salem, New Hampshire, and it seemed like his primary residence is in Providence, right next to Brown. He got busted by the identification from a homeless man, and there was another assist where I haven't read through on this, click through the link yet, but they said there was also an anonymous post on Reddit that gave him a helpful clue. They also said there was some significant planning in here. Apparently, he had researched and planned where he was going to drive his car to avoid plate scanners. He was also avoiding using debit cards that had his name on it. So I guess they're implying, did he get burner debit cards? Because you know how you can load up a burner debit card and maintain your anonymity for a small fee there. So he was trying to get away with it. It sounded like he had the plan done for both. And so now you got to start asking, well, was there another one? Was this going to keep going, or was it just these two? Strange part, I don't have any answers for you on why he targeted the school shooting, because we're not even sure if he targeted that girl or if he just came in and decided at the last minute, I'll just start with her. We don't know that yet. But we do know, Kristi Noem said that he came back to America in 2017 because of the Visa lottery system, similar to the one Trump paused for so many countries. I think they're pausing it for all countries for a minute here. I saw that headline, and I was clicking through reading some of this, but I'm really stuck on the level of planning this guy did, which tells you a couple things. Number one, he did not intend to kill himself. Killing himself was his backup plan only because he got busted. Why is that important? Well, you know, he's probably not a jihadi guy. They don't mind dying for the cause. In fact, a lot of them intentionally blow themselves up or do the suicide by cop thing. So that lends a little bit of an idea to his motive. You can't say it was a crime of passion where some guy just got worked up and while he was in a fit of rage decided to kill a couple people, because it's methodical. It was planned. It happened over a series of days, weeks almost. So I don't have all the answers now, but I do have a little bit more information. I'm passing along everything I find out to you as soon as I find it. Now, a lot of people are making some hay about how the site of the shooting at Brown University only had 2 exterior surveillance cameras. You haven't heard me gripe about that. I'm not a big fan of the surveillance state. Doesn't really bother me that they didn't have a whole lot of cameras out there. Cameras don't stop shooters anyway. We would have just had a better picture of his face. We would have caught him a few days earlier. I don't know. That's a sacrifice I'm willing to take, but whatever. I guess something could be made of that. Oh, we've got to put more cameras up in universities. You know what? I would just like to point out that I guess it was a decade ago in Texas, we passed a law in Austin that allowed concealed carry on college campuses. And we were told, well, that was going to make college campuses more dangerous, more violent, more criminal. Did we have a shooting at a college campus in Texas where a guy got away from it? No. Have we seen an increase in shootings in Texas college campuses? Could lives have been saved if someone else in that room had a gun and could have reacted when the shooting started? Could have ended this? Would that MIT professor still be alive today if that had happened on a Texas college campus? We may never know. Coming up on the James Show. Yeah, that's just to get us started. I also have some bad updates on the fraud stories coming out of Minnesota, with the Somalis doing the different programs and sending money back and bilking the taxpayers. It's even bigger than previously reported. They had a big press conference last night. You'll hear the details next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, I'm telling you everything we know about the Brown University shooter on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. If you're just joining us, they caught him last night, and he killed himself in a storage facility, you know, like a little public storage building. And it seemed like he had more to do, and he was just going to go along and see how much he could get away with. And when he was ID'd and the cops were closing in, he took his life. I don't think that was part of his final plan, but that's how it ended up on him. Now, we're learning a lot about this guy, except for his motive. Now, the MIT professor, who he also killed days after the Brown shooting, is a fellow Portuguese guy. They briefly went to the same college at the same time in Lisbon. It's not lesbian, Garrett. It's Lisbon. And we don't know any more connection besides that. We do know a little more details about how he did it and what he used to do it. Investigators have said that they recovered 44 spent 9mm shell casings. So he didn't use an assault rifle. And if you want to go down the gun control argument that necessarily happens after all these, it was not an assault rifle. It was not bought with the gun show loophole. It was in a gun-free school zone. So before we get into all those arguments, let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. The man also had no criminal record. So no red flag laws or background checks would have stopped him. Registration didn't stop him. All these other measures didn't stop him. So shut up. Plus, that's a real crazy thing to say when we're just in the wake of the Bondi, Australia shooting, where they have all the gun control measures that you're asking for, and they still had a mass shooting that was far more deadly than this one. What else did we learn? Didn't have a criminal record. Oh, yeah. His car was a rental car from Miami, and that was part of the reason it stood out and was reported to the police. So that's about all I know. What do you know? Landon in Dallas, you're on WBAP.
Good afternoon, James. Thank you so much for taking my call, sir. Just curious, I understand details are still bare bones. If they do find one, do you think they will come up with a manifesto from this guy? If they do, what do you think he'll say? Thanks.
Impossible. Because this isn't fitting our stereotypes. This doesn't sound like an Antifa guy. This doesn't sound like, every once in a while a BLM guy will go crazy and start shooting at people, like a Christopher Dorner or what happened here in downtown Dallas at the BLM rally. It's not one of those guys. He doesn't look very BLM to me. He's a 48-year-old Portuguese fella. It doesn't look like he is converted to Islam at any time, so I don't think it's Muslim terrorism. I have so little help for you on that one, Landon. I almost feel bad doing a radio show because I don't know.
Hey, it's all good. I appreciate you answering my call, sir. Hope you have a wonderful day and God bless.
Oh, look how nice people are being today. Thank you, Landon. It's because it's Christmas time, isn't it? This is Tony in Watauga. You're on WBAP.
Hey, James. I'm having a hard time buying what I'm hearing. The fact that a homeless Brown University student was squatting in the basement of the building that the first two shootings happened at, and locked eyes with the guy 2 hours before it happened. That doesn't make any sense at all to me.
Well, I you know what? I had your initial reaction, but then my brain processed it in a few seconds. And here's what I came up with that kind of makes me feel a little better about that. Because you're right to be skeptical about all this, because it's not. We don't have anything that's adding up just yet. But did you go to college and live on a campus?
I didn't go to college, period. I went to A&P school so I could work on airplanes, and I don't have college school debt.
All right. So if you live on a college campus, you'll notice that pretty much anyone there could be qualified as homeless. We don't really have a place to stay. Yeah, some of us are staying in a dorm room, but that's only until, December, 20th, And so there's all kinds of various states of housed and unhoused, because at that age, you're crashing on couches. Sometimes you just sleep in your car for that last semester because you don't have enough money to pay for everything. Well, so I'm not thinking this is like some homeless guy who's a wino who sleeps under the bridge. This is a college kid who's finishing, and he's doing it with almost no resources. So maybe he was sleeping in his car and just using the bathroom at that building as sort of his shower and hygiene area. That's my guess.
Well, I mean, what I'm going by what I heard from Markley Van Camp and those guys that he was a student, a graduate student, not a student that was currently enrolled. And
Well, graduate students
having
are
to lock
currently
eyes with this guy.
enrolled. Hang on. Graduate student doesn't mean they've graduated. Graduate
No,
student means they're going for a degree
No.
beyond a bachelor's degree. That's
that,
it.
that he was a former student.
Okay, so now that's
what I
different.
meant, as a former student.
Okay.
That was what I gathered from listening to Markley Van Camp and those guys this morning. But none of this stuff, none of this rings true to me in any way, shape, or form. It all just sounds cobbled together. It's the best I could come up with on short notice, and throw it out there and see what sticks to the wall.
What do you think? This is false flag?
It just, none of it makes any sense whatsoever to me. And I've talked to you a couple of times. I know you're a sane guy, and I can't wrap my mind around the fact that this guy, was spotted in the basement of the building by a former student and went on to kill 2 people, and then a few days later went and killed another guy, MIT professor. I hadn't heard before that they were both from Lisbon, that they had both gone to college together.
Yeah, I didn't find that out until this morning either. They didn't even tell us that last night.
Yeah, maybe he's got an axe to grind with that guy, but the 2 people that were targeted at Brown, I thought one of them was the Republican chairperson or something like that.
Well, we don't even know if she was targeted. We don't know if he was just lashing out because he was previously in that program, and so that's what brought him to that classroom at that time. But it's a big auditorium classroom. It's not like the room I'm in or the rooms we had in high school. We had a couple of these auditorium-sized classrooms in college, and so it had like the seating that grades up like a movie theater. The steps up.
Yeah.
So it was in a big old auditorium classroom like that. I've now seen the pictures inside. But I'm starting to think he's not targeting that girl because he spent 44 bullets. So he killed her, he killed that other guy, and then he was just squeezing off rounds at people in the hallway and in the classroom.
He obviously didn't spend any time at the range.
No, and we're all lucky for that. But that doesn't make any sense because if he's going to go to the trouble of avoiding the license plate scanners, of getting the rental car, of using a burner phone so he can't be traced, of using a burner debit card so he can't be traced in his digital footprint like that.
He changed magazines several times, or he was carrying multiple guns to have gone through 44 rounds.
Yeah, so they've only reported 2 guns. That's what we got.
Okay. Well, that's still, he'd had to change magazines unless he's carrying a 23-round magazine.
Yeah, of course. He definitely had to change magazines. All right. Well, thank you very much, Tony and Watauga. You're asking all the good questions. I wish I had more answers. All right, coming up next, you're going to hear terrible news about the fraud in Minnesota, and it's even worse than you think. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So the Minnesota fraud by the Somalis is worse than you thought. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. There was a press conference yesterday by the people doing the investigation into Tim Walz's dreamland of half socialism. And the more they dig, the more they find. And my goodness, could it get any worse than it already is? Yeah, it can. A quick rundown here on what was announced yesterday. This is Liz Collin. I believe this was Fox News.
Yeah, we heard some pretty shocking numbers today, Will, at that press conference, talking about $18 billion paid out through these 14 programs that First Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson focused on. And he said, in his own words today, more than half of that money seems to be fraudulent. And the reporter asked, as much as 10 billion, and he quickly said absolutely. So he detailed just this explosive growth of these programs, focusing on just a few in these last few years. But I'll say that we've been checking out a lot of this for ourselves through many tips from our readers and viewers. And just this week, we visited a dozen sites, and to be honest, they all seem fraudulent. Empty adult daycares, empty autism clinics, no kids in sight, strange Google reviews that seem almost written in AI. Would even look to be phony websites. And you can see right there for yourself online through a database how much money they're receiving. It's often hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars if you go ahead and total it up for the last few years. And there you see it, some nice luxury cars right in the parking lot of some of these businesses. We heard more about that today as well. Where's all this money going? Funneled to other countries. We heard that from Joe Thompson today, to Kenya. Someone even bought a semi-truck. Expensive homes, international travel, you name it, that's where this money has gone. But really just eye-popping to see those numbers today in that press conference.
So what we have is a small community of what we're told is it's only like 80,000 people in Minnesota. And they've stolen over $100 billion in tax money. Is it that easy to game the system? Absolutely it is. If there's that much grift being siphoned off by 80,000 Somalis in just one state, how much do you think is being siphoned off by 330 million Americans? We're not all good people. There's some thieves among us. In a nation of 330 million people, if just 1% of us are capable of that level of fraud and grift, and that is a low estimate, that's an army. You understand? That's like 3.3 million people. So the grift on our services, how much larger would that be than the Somali? Would be 10, almost, to see, 20, 30 times bigger, almost 40 times bigger? No, it would be. It'd be 40 times as much. I swear, this should be the top story in the country. This should be wall to wall. This is what they managed to do with just one of our 50 states. And it's not even a populous one. It's a kind of middle of the road state. What do you think is going on all across this country? We spend over $2 trillion a year in, air quotes, needs tested social programs. Dude, if it worked, the streets would be paved with golds. Hell, the bike lanes would even be paved with golds. Gold. Just singular, not plural. It's the only one. But this should be the top story across front, back, and they should harp on this every day. You have been robbed. The reason why we still have inflation, the reason why we still have a deficit, the reason why we still have a big national debt, a big chunk of it is this. No one's watching the safe. No one's watching the store. No one's watching the cash register, and we're being robbed blind. And the news does not want to touch this because they know if the American people, not just you, but the half-brained, less-informed, low-information voters out there, if they saw what was really happening with government programs and with their tax dollars, they would be limited government conservatives tomorrow. They'd probably be libertarians tomorrow. There would be no sympathy for food stamps. There would be no sympathy for Section 8 or any of these other welfare programs. Doesn't matter if the government's going to shut down or whatever. The American people would turn on their government in a second, and we would cut all this silly socialism out. That's why they're not going to report on it. But make no mistake, you are being robbed blind. I have a couple more clips on this, more that we've discovered in the Minnesota Somali fraud. And it's still going on. Find out next on The James Show, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Merry Christmas. It's the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Trump just came out and gave a quick announcement on lowering drug prices earlier, and then he just came out again, gave a quick statement on the release of some Epstein files that are supposed to happen before close of business today. That's the deadline. More on both of those coming up later in the show, so plenty of reason to stick with us. Right now, we were just learning together that the fraud in Minnesota, is bigger than you thought. The quick rundown here from Liz Collin on Fox News this morning.
Yeah, we heard some pretty shocking numbers today, Will, at that press conference, talking about $18 billion paid out through these 14 programs that First Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson focused on. And he said, in his own words today, more than half of that money seems to be fraudulent. And the reporter asked as much as $10 billion, and he quickly said absolutely. So he detailed just this explosive growth of these programs, focusing on just a few in these last few years. But I'll say that we've been checking out a lot of this for ourselves through many tips from our readers and viewers. And just this week, we visited a dozen sites, and to be honest, they all seem fraudulent. Empty adult daycares, empty autism clinics, no kids in sight, strange Google reviews that seem almost written in AI, would even look to be phony websites. And you can see right there for yourself online through a database how much money they're receiving. It's often hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars if you go ahead and total it up for the last few years. And there you see it, some nice luxury cars right in the parking lot of some of these businesses. We heard more about that today as well. Where's all this money going? Funneled to other countries. We heard that from Joe Thompson today, to Kenya. Someone even bought a semi-truck, expensive homes, international travel, you name it. That's where this money has gone. But really just eye-popping to see those numbers today in that press conference.
Well, you know what's eye-popping is that there's a report that billions and billions of taxpayer dollars has been stolen from this one tiny community in this one tiny state, and every news outlet isn't sending a reporter to check up on this. CNN and MSNBC and the local TV stations, everyone should be checking in on this. Everyone that has a person to spare should be checking on this. New York Times, Los Angeles Times, all you people out, ABC, NBC, CBS, all your news departments, y'all should be sending people to these autism clinics, to these daycare clinics, to these schools, or whatever the grift of the day is. Instead, you have one girl, Liz, that's doing it. And they're still open, even after this has been on the news, even after 59 people have been convicted and sentenced to jail. These things are still open. She continues.
Absolutely. And I'll say more times than not, they are traced back to Somali names. You can see that all online. And we've been reporting on this for quite some time. It's 90% of those that have been charged now by the U.S. Attorney's Office are Somali. It was 4 of the 6 today as well. But this really is out in the open. You can see it for yourself. The nice cars, the nice homes. And amazing to see now that perhaps this is catching up with some of these folks. But again, these were just this week that we visited, and they're still all open. So it's hard to say just where this dollar amount actually does stop.
Meanwhile, you got Ilhan Omar over there lying about her son being detained by ICE.
You've said that federal immigration agents actually pulled over your son on Saturday and asked him to prove his citizenship. He is, of course, a U.S. citizen, as are you. The Department of Homeland Security says, and I'm quoting them, ICE has absolutely zero record of its officers or agents pulling over Congresswoman Omar's son, and have accused you of seeking to, quote, demonize ICE as part of a PR stunt, their words. What do you say to that?
Well, if ICE is saying that they have documentation of every single person that they have pulled over in Minneapolis, we would love to see that record because we've certainly, myself and the governor, have been asking them to share information with us on the ways in which they have interacted with Minnesotans, and they have not been able to provide a single information. So it is amazing that they're able to put out this statement in saying definitely that they did not pull my son over when they haven't been able to answer anything else.
Well, you can't prove a negative. They can't say, well, here's the piece of paper where I didn't pull over your son. But they do keep records of people that they interact with. When they run someone's license, there's a digital footprint of that. It's not in there. Stop lying. Why is she still here? 800-288-9227. Her and her husband, brother. What are they calling now? A husband, a husband, whatever. They need to go back. I'm tired of this. It's been way too much. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, Buck Tussle update on the James Show. Now we're going to turn our attention to our friend for one last day from the Denton State Supporting Living Center. And Derek, I love all the good news. This is a heartwarming time of year as long as the people step up, and it sounds like they're doing a pretty good job. Phoenix Plumbing? All right. Mervin. Thank you very much, Derek. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, Merry Christmas. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, on your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. They kill it right before the James Show every day from 11 to 2. But one thing I can do that they can't do is give you a Bug Tussle update, because you know what? They don't even know Bug Tussle exists. But about 2 hours east from where I'm sitting right now, in the 30-acre hay pasture where I grew up, the news is a lot slower. And I didn't know that when I was growing up. I thought that was local news was, boring, kind of fun stuff. National news was bombs going off and crazy stories. And look at all the crime that happens in the big city. Well, I have to go back and forth now. I have to be exposed to big city news and Bug Tussle news. And I just go back and forth between the two. And it just cracks me up how stark the living experience in the United States is based on whether or not you're in a rural area or you're in the fourth biggest metropolitan area this country has to offer. DFW is now the fourth biggest market in the country, by the way. We got promoted last year, so that's pretty cool. But this week, I swear to God, I used to work at a station out there, the NBC affiliate in Bug Tussle, and I know what it's like. We have to fill 24 minutes worth of news every day, and we don't have 24 minutes worth of news every day. Here was the top, most salacious, sensational, eye-popping story this week in Bug Tussle.
2 people are behind bars after deputies find a heroin and meth inside a Gunbarrel City house. According to the Henderson County Sheriff's Office, deputies searched a house on Lake Shadow Circle earlier this morning just off Cedar Creek. That's where they found meth, heroin, and tools used to distribute narcotics. Tiffany Glasscock and Tyler Loggins were arrested and booked into the Henderson County Jail. Loggins also had a warrant out of Dallas.
Oh no, we found somebody who had drugs. Look, someone has drugs. Call the news. Someone's on drugs. And country people think, well, that's a big story. Yeah, I didn't know I was living next door to heroin and crack. Well, why is that funny? Because I come up here, and when I'm walking around downtown, I think I stepped over 6 crack pipes just going to lunch. So it's not quite newsworthy up here. But as the newscast dwindles on, the news stories, get less and less sensational, less and less important. They put all the hot stuff at the front, right? So how bad does it get before the end of the newscast? Just in the A block in Bug Tussle, when you're watching the news. This happened at my old station a couple days ago. I had to pull this for you. News is so slow. They reported on a job opening.
Welcome back. We also have a job alert for you this morning, a potentially new career path for some East Texans. Sport Clips in Longview is hiring a hairstylist. Applicants must have a valid cosmetology or barber license and be able to work a flexible schedule. Strong customer service and communication skills are required. Pay ranges from $19 to $38 an hour.
Yeah, people think rural America is scary. Like, oh, you got to go out in the hinterlands. It's not safe out there. They don't like our kind out there. They don't like minorities, or they don't like trans, or they don't like gays, or they don't like women, or they're going to oppress everybody. Are you kidding? It's Pleasantville out there. Life is so easy. There's so little crime. There's so little mayhem. There's so little human suffering that we have to fill the news with a job opening. And it's not a job opening like the Cowboys are looking for a new head coach. This isn't a job opening like the local hospital's looking for a new superintendent. No, this is for someone to cut hair. Cut hair. So if you ever wonder why people would leave the big city and move out to the middle of nowhere, because I hear the way you talk about people in the middle of nowhere, you feel sorry for them. It's like, oh man, he got a job way out in Skeeter Holler, or he got a job way out in Rabbit's Foot. Where's that? Oh, it's by Raccoon Tail out in East Texas. They're like, oh man, poor guy. That must be terrible. Are you kidding me? Do you know what it's like to go to CVS and not have anything locked up? Do you know what it's like to not have crime, to leave your door unlocked, to leave your house unlocked, to leave your garage door open? If you don't, you're really missing out. And the fact that if you could go just back and forth and just see the experience that I have to go through on a regular basis here, you would just slap your forehead and be like, why are we doing this in the big city? There's no good excuse for that. I just thought you appreciate today's Bug Tussle update. Also, in Texas news, we'll talk about this later with my guest coming up at 4:15. Alan West is going to be on, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. But another thing that was in the news there, this is from a different station, the CBS affiliate. The first polling comes in on the Senate race for Texas, and Jasmine Crockett's beating the snot out of this Tallarico kid.
A new Texas Southern University poll of 1,600 likely Democratic primary voters shows Crockett leading Texas State Representative James Tallarico by 8 points at 51 to 43%. 6% still undecided. Crockett's advantage coming largely from black voters, where she leads Tallarico by nearly 90%.
I'm shocked. Here's what they don't show you. The graphic said, if you're a black Democrat who plans on voting in the primary, 89% are with Jasmine Crockett. You mean to tell me that all of these people are making their pick based solely on the content of her character and not the color of her skin? You mean to tell me there's not some sort of racial preference going on? No, they just all happen to agree. 89% of them agree. 89% of black Democrats who plan to vote in the Democrat primary all agree. Good for you. That's not tribal or racist at all.
The gender divide in this race also very clear. Women favor Crockett by nearly 20 points at 57 to 36%. Men lean toward Tallarico at 52 to 42%. Name recognition also significant in this race. Take a look at this. 94% of voters say they already know enough about Crockett in order to form an opinion, but only 79% can say the same about Tallarico.
All right, so internal polling was done by Jasmine Crockett. She knew this a week before she announced. She probably knew it 2 weeks before she announced. That's why they cleared the decks. They got Colin Allred to move to another race, and she's going to win this thing. She's going to be the primary winner. She's going to be running against, I don't know who comes out of the Republican primary. I'm guessing Ken Paxton. But get ready. Jasmine Crockett's not going anywhere. In fact, she's just about to get promoted to the next level. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Updates on the Trump Christmas bonus for the military. Coming up next, I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Nothing says Christmas like AC/DC. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Hey, come back next week. I'll be doing shows most days. We're doing special programming with Christmas music on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, but you're going to get new shows on Monday and Tuesday and Friday. And then I think I'm working every single day the week of New Year's. So come on back. If you're going to be around the radio, I'm going to be here giving you new shows. Don't forget about old Parker here while you're taking some time off. Next big story is the Trump bonus situation. And this is kind of interesting to watch in the fact that, when he said that during the speech, minutes later, I'm on the radio doing some immediate analysis of the speech. And one of the things myself and Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express talked about is, for the people who criticize Trump on everything, how on earth are you going to criticize Trump on this? Because we were trying to be fair. And as someone who's like a fiscal conservative, government should always be smaller, and I'm against every government spending program, this is probably the one I'm against the least. And so if you didn't hear it in the speech, here's the update from WFAA.
President Trump announced it. Active duty members of the military will start getting a holiday bonus. The money for the warrior dividend of $1,776 was approved by Congress by this summer. In the big, beautiful bill that was passed, the funds were allocated by lawmakers from the Military Housing Fund. Those payouts will cost about $2.5 billion.
So how do you criticize that? Do you say these people don't deserve it? They didn't work for it. They didn't earn it. They're overpaid? Because that's what we say about some people who are getting handouts, or they're getting welfare, or they're getting Medicare, they're getting Medicaid, or hell, even college professors. They're government employees. A lot of us feel like they're overpaid. How on earth could you possibly criticize troops getting not a ton of money? The whole shebang is $2 billion, and it's only $1,776 a piece. Well, leave it up to the sweethearts over at The View to try. Check this out.
The one thing I'll give him credit on is this bonuses to troops. He's giving them basically $1,700.
Let's see if they get the.
Well,
it
is
coming
the money coming from?
He says tariff revenue. That's what I'm most intrigued to see if that's actually the case. Listen, coming off of the government shutdown,
I got to check that with Professor ChatGPT because I don't believe that.
Well, in the delay that they all had of not, they got back pay, but I mean, people need help. But all Americans need help right now.
Yeah.
And just a handout isn't the answer. Smart policies are the answer.
What he's doing is he's thinking, if I make sure that the soldiers have what they need, they'll back me in what I want.
Oh, yeah. So for all those illegal orders, I guess she kind of hinted that they were being bribed to take orders. That's not really how it works, Whoopi. If you're employed by someone and they give you money in exchange for acting the way they want you to act, that's not a bribe at all. We call that in the industry a paycheck. The defining characteristic of all employment is you're exchanging money for some sort of good or service. Also, The View, they just couldn't stop themselves. Somehow, Trump giving Christmas bonuses within seconds morphed into how much they love Obama.
This is what he says about, I want to read what he says about Barack Obama, because we love Barack Obama, and it's wrong of him.
Easy.
He writes, and he acts like this is real in history. A community organizer, one-term senator from Illinois, and one of the most divisive political figures in American history. Why? Because he was black? Why?
No.
Everything is about race with him.
Yeah. Is it? Well, it might also be the jealousy.
Wait a second. He didn't bring up race. You just brought up race. Oh, why is he divisive? Because he's black? I didn't think that. He didn't say that. No one was thinking that until, well, I guess you were thinking that. You brought up race. Why is he obsessed with race? You're the one who brought it up. Race wasn't mentioned anywhere in Trump's statement about Obama. Anyway.
Everything is about race with him.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
Well, it might also be the jealousy of how well he did. It for people that.
Well, Obama lives rent-free in his head, for sure. Yeah. For sure. He will never be the type of President Obama was. He's not going to win that.
But when are they going to invoke the 25th Amendment? Does he have to run naked into the White House or what? What is that amendment for, if not for this?
He's doing this to trigger people. He wants people to get outraged and to troll. It's what he does, because that's how he is.
But we're not outraged. We feel that he is juvenile and unhinged. It's not outrage.
What is his motive,
I would express, I think it's distract, it's troll, it's get people outraged. But I would say this.
Oh my God. I get it. You hate the guy. You hate that nothing he can do will get a positive word from you. And just the amount of projection there. They're like, God, he's just so obsessed with race. You're the one who brought it up when there was no racial context to anything the man said in that statement. But you hear that? What does he have to do before we invoke the 25th Amendment? And they're talking about his mental decline. They're talking about, does he have to run naked through the halls? Oh, yeah, he's acting crazy? That's interesting. We're concerned that the president of the United States may have some sort of mental decline. Huh, that's new. Well, that's only the tip of the iceberg. They're floating this trial balloon again that Donald Trump's crazy, and it's just going to drive you nuts when I play you the audio coming up in the next segment, because these are the same people that a year and a half ago were telling you Joe Biden's sharp as a tack, that were calling you crazy or deranged or fake news or misinformed or delusional because you were pointing out that this guy was not able to run for president. And it was just months before they agreed with you. So stick around. You're going to hear some of that coming up next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. Now let's turn our attention to Derek, who is in the final, I guess, couple of hours here for the fundraiser. What's the cutoff for people to donate to the Denton State Living Center? Thank you very much, Derek. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, do you think Trump is mentally fit to finish his term? I'm sure you do, but there are people out there saying he doesn't. He's not. Okay. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And this is such a forehead slap coming from the people who told you Biden was sharp as a tack. In fact, this Biden is the best Biden. You can write it down. And if you don't like it, then what do you say, like bleep you or whatever? Sharp as a tack. This was the sharp as a tack montage we got on the James Show. Wait, let me play you these other people saying they're questioning his health real quick. So Jake Tapper talking to some guy named Dr. Reiner. I know a lot of Reiners in the news this week. And they were concerned about Trump's health, especially after that speech, because his weird speech patterns and behavior. We're just concerned.
So you call his cadence manic and uncontrolled. And then earlier today, and this is not the first time this has happened, the president appeared to be struggling to keep his eyes open during a public White House event. In the Oval Office earlier today, we're showing the video right now. I don't know if that worries you. What's your take on that? What is that?
So he's done this several times now in the last few weeks. He's fallen asleep in a crowded Oval Office, and he's also fallen asleep at cabinet meetings with people talking directly to him. And that's what's called increased daytime somnolence. So, but it's jarring to see the president go from basically asleep in the Oval Office to, really this rapid fire pace, during basically a 30-minute speech that he gave in 18 minutes. It was, and again, what I said last night is no one should be happy to see that. So I think all of this raises realistic concerns about the health of the president. And it would be great if the White House was a little bit more forthcoming about that.
Oh my God. You people are not allowed to question any president's mental condition for the rest of your life. If you're any of the people anywhere in the Biden is sharp montage from Grabian, you can shut your mouth. This is like having Bill Cosby saying, hey, James, I think you made your margarita a little too strong. That's what it feels like. Now here's the reminder. Let's go back in time to what you were being told up until last year, that Joe Biden, sharp as a tack, sharpest guy out there.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth.
Me?
This version of Biden is the best Biden ever. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been.
President Biden has a photographic memory.
Sure.
His understanding and mastery of a complicated geopolitical situation, remarkable.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
I was sitting, 2 feet from him across the table, and he was, intense.
Have trouble walking sometimes? Yeah, so did FDR. He wanted GD war.
But he's totally focused. He's very sharp.
They say he's sharp in meetings and so on.
Very lucid, very well informed. Biden is stately and he comes with gravitas. There hasn't been, as far as I know, a single claim that Biden made a mistake. Ageism is an issue. Americans have a rich history of holding people's physical characteristics against them. Okay, you can ask African Americans.
He's older. That doesn't mean that he is unfit, and there's a lot of ageism there.
Now, this age attack, this obsession by the right.
Joe Biden may not be able to speak for himself the way that he used to. I think people should be speaking up for Joe Biden.
Americans and reporters in the media are just judging him by a physical appearance, and it's horribly unfair. Age is an asset.
He showed exactly how with it he is.
The flip side of this coin is that he has a tremendous amount of wisdom and experience.
All right, screw that. It goes on for another minute and a half. But anyone who's in that montage, you're not allowed to say anything about Donald Trump's presidency or his mental state. In fact, y'all should all have been fired for being that wrong. You realize, like right now, head coaches are being fired in the college ranks and NFL ranks and high school ranks because they went 500 this season because they didn't have a winning season. Why do we hold our high school coaches to a higher account than our media members who are supposed to be relaying the information on the most important topics of the day? We're talking about spending $7 trillion of your dollars every year. We're talking about war. We're talking about trade. We're talking about geopolitics. We're talking about crime, safety, education, healthcare. They're willing to lie to you about all that for their political preference. These people should be shamed out of having a job. CNN should say that, what are they called now? MSNO. MSNO should say, hey, you remember that whole Biden Sharp attack thing? Yeah, we're going to have to let you go. Yeah, F you if you're not ready to hear it. Well, how about F you? You were wrong. 800-288-9227. It just takes a huge pair to even try to float that trial balloon after they gave us the Roomba president. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next on The James Show, there's an update on the ICE facility that was shot up in Dallas, but somehow the media forgets to mention the motive of the attacker, why the shots happened, who he was associated with. They don't say any political leaning or any description whatsoever. You'll hear it yourself coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, Merry Christmas, fellow Texans. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, and Merry Christmas to you. Next week is going to be just all Christmas cheer. I'm going to spend half of all the shows doing something Christmas related. So just get used to that. And, really, I would like for more of my shows to be less news and more fun, but we just get so inundated with serious stuff. Like, how do you ignore the Brown shooting? How do you ignore the Epstein list that's supposed to be coming out and starting to the drip process? We'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, there's just too much going on. But next week, it will be fun. It will be festive. It will be very Christmassy. And if you say, if anyone emails me and they're like, can you get to the real news? I don't want to talk about this dumb stuff. Or can you be a little more serious? Or let's talk about this very serious issue. I'm going to ignore you. I'm going to ignore you until January 2nd. So coming back to the news of the day, and of course, there's plenty of it. I wanted to give you an update on this Dallas ICE shooting. One of the great things Rush Limbaugh taught us was the drive-by media. They'll give you the story, they'll give you their spin on it. And then after the investigations are done, after all the details and the blanks in the Mad Libs are filled in, very rarely will they circle back and give you the refined version of the story, which you and I know is the truth. So I get real interested in the few instances where this does happen. There was an update I saw on the Dallas ICE shooting. Oh, good. We know more about the guy who did the shooting. We know more about his motives. We know about people he was working with or in communication with. We know about his influences. We know about how he procured the weapon. No, it's just a sympathy story to gin up emotional support for immigrants.
It's been more than 3 months since someone opened fire on an ICE facility in Dallas. 2 people were killed, and the suspected gunman, Joshua John, was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound on a nearby rooftop. One of the victims in the shooting was Miguel Angel Garcia, who died days after. We spoke to his widow back in September about Garcia, who was trying to obtain legal status in the U.S., but she told us her grief was reignited after a letter she received days ago saying that Garcia's case was approved at the time he was killed.
It was awful. I remember just reading it and I just broke down crying because if he would have been here, it would have been a happy moment.
Garcia was shot while in a van at the ICE office while protecting someone else from the gunfire, something that the widow here tells us brings her peace and shares the story to keep his memory alive.
Boy, you think they would have left the motive out if it had been someone on your team? If he had been Team Red anything? You think they would have maybe mentioned the fact that he was killed in a hate crime, or it was racist violence, or it was xenophobic violence, or it was transphobic or homophobic or misogynistic or Islamophobic? There's just no mention of the motive there. Interesting. You've managed to take a story where Team Blue is literally the bad guy, and you made it Team Blue the object of sympathy. It's a neat trick you guys pulled. Nice and dishonest. Coming up next on The James Show, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West is going to come on and talk about what you need to know because some rules have changed for the elections around here. And I don't know if you noticed, but the primary season, the next time you're supposed to go to the ballot box and vote in the very important primary season, less than 3 months away. So we'll get you all prepared for that coming up next with Alan West. Right now, though, we're going to stop in and we're going to talk to Derek from the Denton State Supported Living Center. And we have what? Just 1-2 more reminders. Thank you, Derek. Merry Christmas. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Merry Christmas. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. Newsflash, we are less than 3 months away from voting again. Feels strange, didn't we just have some elections like a month ago? Yes. But this is the most important election, and the sad part is it gets probably the least amount of the electoral process, of attention in the electoral process, and that is the damn primaries that are coming up. So to break it down for us, Lieutenant Colonel Allen West, man who needs no introduction, coming back on the James Show. And some rules have changed. I know that we're going to like paper ballots here in Dallas County. Is there any rule changes that the average voter needs to be aware of in Texas? Yeah, that was going to be my next question is it still an open primary? Because a lot of people have been pushing for it to be closed, and it seems like there's a consensus to get it done, but it hasn't happened. All right, Jane Nelson. We're talking with Lieutenant Colonel Allen West about the upcoming primary season. The first round of polling has come back since Jasmine Crockett jumped into the race, and it looked like she's beaten this Tallarico guy pretty handily. Well, the question that a lot of people have is why would she give up this congressional race that she would definitely win or probably win? I know she's been redistricted it out, but whatever race she chose, as long as it was Democrat heavy, she'd probably win. Why would she give up her seat in Congress in order to probably lose a Senate race? And I foresee the Beto track where he's going to use this to get a whole lot of publicity, and then we're probably going to see her in the primary debates in 2028. Gross. So the pushback I have on that, and I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying what's their better option? Who has a bigger profile in the Democrat Party right now than Jasmine Crockett? And that includes Schumer, Pelosi, AOC, Bernie Sanders. I think she may, nationally speaking, be the biggest name that's on the bench. So when we talk about the primary races on the Republican side of the ticket, where are the hotly contested races that people are going to see on their ballots in North Texas? All right, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, I appreciate your time on the James Show. If someone wants to be a poll watcher or volunteer on Election Day or help out, how do they get involved? All right. Well, great update. Thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West on the James Show yet again. Coming up next, the Harry Potter exhibit is in Dallas. If your kids are big fans, you may want to listen to the next segment. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, sports fans. James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. And I know I was bragging yesterday on my lineup that I had for the Thursday night football game. And I would have won, but the damn thing went into overtime, so he had another chance to get some more yards. Thanks a lot, Sam Darnold. But so the great Parker winning streak of 2025 comes to an end. But I have another chance to make a lineup right now. In fact, you can make a lineup every day. I really like to stick with football because that's kind of what I know best. But if you are a basketball head, if you're a hockey head, if you're into any of these sports and you have inside knowledge, more so than the rest of the world, take advantage of that knowledge and turn it into money with Prize Picks. All you do is download Prize Picks. You'll make a lineup of 2 to 6 players. You look at all their statistics and you pick one of the statistics. You say more or less on it. That's it. Then you watch the sports you were already going to watch anyway. Add a little bit of spice on the top of it. It's like putting tahini on the sports you're already watching. And you can turn that knowledge in your head, that fandom, make it work for you. Download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code WBAP. Get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Download Prize Picks. Use promo code WBAP and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Merry Christmas. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker, on your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And I'm looking for stuff to do over the holidays. The kids are going to be out of school as of, well, they get off early today. God forbid if we actually went to a whole day of school before we were off for 2 weeks. But I have family coming in town to visit, and I think one of the things we're going to do, we're going to go to the Netflix house by the Galleria. That looks awesome. The other thing I've been talked into is we're going to go to the Harry Potter experience, and my next guest is partly to blame for that. Mark really talked me into it when you were on the show earlier this week. And so for the people who didn't hear our last segment, just assume, because more than 80% of them didn't, according to the stats. What is the Harry Potter exhibit up off Pepper Square at Preston and Beltline? Sure. Yeah, that tiny little bedroom. Yeah, well, I was looking into the Quidditch thing, and if you're wondering, no, the brooms don't really fly. Now, we have the flying brooms, but we can't make them available to the public for insurance reasons. Yeah. But they'll let special cool talk show hosts behind the scenes fly around on a broom, right? Just because I'm evil, yeah. Well, I don't think we realize what a classic this is because it feels kind of contemporary. Harry Potter was something that was invented in our lifetime and in our adulthood, when we were coherent. But I think in 100 years from now, these books are still going to be something people read, like the old Tolkien or even going back further than that. Well, at the Parker House, we always watch the movie because it's 10 times faster and reading is for nerds. So, yeah. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We highly encourage reading books too. But I also like this because I'm going to have 4 kids that are off school with nothing to do, and this gives them something to do. Also, I'm going to have in-laws in town, and this gives them something to do too. Oh, I always try and ditch my father-in-law any chance I can. He's just a contemptible human being. I like my mother-in-law though, so we'll hang on to her and we'll just lose Ray somewhere. All right, do people come to this thing in costume? Is this like a Renaissance fair? Okay, so give me the hours. What? All right. And how long are you guys going to be open as far as the dates go? Okay. So this is a traveling exhibit. You've done this in other towns? Okay, so we have on the website it fluctuates here. You can't really have a date or a time because sometimes it gets reserved up, so you have to go find what hour is open. And then they do some cool things with family bundles. I look at that because I have 4 kids, and so if it's 2 adults and 2 kids, a minimum of 4 tickets, you get them all for a discount. It's like a third off. Like were you headphones or something? Okay. Well, when I had you on, what was it, Monday? There was one question I didn't get answered. How long does it last? Well, on the website it says the average person is between 60 and 90 minutes to visit the whole exhibit. All right, that's Mark. Dallas.harrypotterexhibition.com. Thank you very much, sir. Breaking news. Donald Trump has ordered airstrikes in Syria that are happening right now in retaliation for the Americans that were killed in the strikes last week. I'll dig on that and give you an update. Plus, name that artist next. If you want to try and win tickets to the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo, call in right now, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. This is for 2 rodeo tickets to the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. Next on Name That Artist. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, I got some breaking news for you here. There's a bombing attack in Syria by the United States. I have some details here. Now, I told you we were going to play Name That Artist. We can make this real quick. Hey, Wes, do you want tickets to the rodeo in Fort Worth in a couple months?
You better believe it.
All right, well, then guess what? You just won them. That's all we have time for because, you know what, when we're going to be doing acts of war and bombing foreign countries, it's going to take precedent on a news talk station. So if you could, go ahead, wait on hold. Garrett will get you the tickets here. It's 2 rodeo tickets, 2026 Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. Includes same-day general admission to the stock show grounds. You can probably come by and see me if you go on a Friday. But here's what we got thus far. Fox News just reported on this 20 minutes ago.
Vengeance after 2 U.S. troops that America has struck Islamic State targets in Syria. Hegseth calling it a declaration of vengeance after 2 U.S. troops and a translator were killed in that country this past weekend. A senior U.S. official telling Jen Griffin the strike was massive and took out more than 50 targets.
Okay, so let's read what Secretary of War Pete Hegseth just posted on X 35 minutes ago. This is the whole thing. It says, earlier today, U.S. forces commenced Operation Hawkeye Strike. And there's no connection to our sister station, KSCS. The morning show host is Hawkeye. Totally different. Operation Hawkeye Strike in Syria to eliminate ISIS fighters, infrastructure, and weapon sites in direct response to the attack on U.S. forces that occurred on December 13th in Palmyra, Syria. Ooh, Palmyra. This is not the beginning of a war. It is a declaration of vengeance. The United States of America, under President Trump's leadership, will never hesitate and never relent to defend our people. As we said directly following the savage attack, if you target Americans anywhere in the world, you will spend the rest of your brief, anxious life knowing the United States will hunt you, find you, and ruthlessly kill you. Today, we hunted and killed our enemies, lots of them, and we will continue. All right, that all sounds pretty good to me. I mean, look, and a lot of people are already in the comment section saying, what are we doing? Why do we have troops there anyway? From what I understand, part of the reason we have a constant presence in Syria for like the last 2 decades is we're protecting Kurds. And I think, if I remember correctly, this is off the top of my head. I didn't know I was going to talk about this, so I'm totally unprepared. So excuse me if this off the top of your head stuff doesn't survive every fact check in the world. But I think they're there protecting some oil infrastructure. The revenue is supposed to go to the Kurds. And they have a weird agreement like that kind of spans that little Kurdish zone. Now, in Turkey, they're on their own. But in Syria and Iraq, they have a little bit of special setup that we are the infrastructure for, or really the security infrastructure for. And so that's all I got for you. I was reading up as much as I could on the break, but I like the idea that he says this is not the beginning of a war. It's a declaration of vengeance, which means this is a retaliatory strike. We're not going to war against Syria. I think the closest comparison we have to this is in Trump's first term. There was a rocket attack on the American setup in the Green Zone in Baghdad. And not too long after that, Soleimani got drone missiled out of his car. And so there's a Hellfire missile that came from an unmanned aerial vehicle. We call them drones. And that was said to be just, whoa, you killed what is basically the Pete Hegseth of Iran a few days after the original rocket attack. And that was kind of the beginning of the FAFO era. If you don't know what that means, ask your kid. So this is not the beginning of a war. I would like to reiterate that. This is someone just open hand slapping someone who disrespected us over the weekend and doing it quickly. And Syria, what a mess they have over there. Because the guy that's in charge of Syria now, wasn't he in Al-Qaeda or one of those groups, Muslim Brotherhood or something to that effect? Now, he wasn't in ISIS. He's apparently against ISIS. So they've had a civil war going on there. That's crazy. But Palmyra, Syria. I don't know a whole lot of what's going on in Palmyra, Syria these days, but it sure does show up in history a lot. If you're familiar with Roman history, if you're familiar with Persian history, if you're familiar with the history of the Muslim conquest, that place just keeps coming up. All right, that's going to about do it for the James Show today. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. Yes, I will be here next week to bring you a whole week of Christmas episodes. In the meantime, if you need more James Show action, go to social media. Follow us on Facebook. We got a lot of good videos on YouTube. We do good updates on X. And so you can find and continue the show interaction there. Thank you very much for hanging out. Oh, no. I had one more special message for you before we got out of here. I almost messed it up. The special Christmas wish. Do we do Gary Busey again? Do we even bother with this? I mean, I know it's kind of super special to me, but if I'm wearing it out, let me know, because I can't get enough of the Gary Busey Christmas, because it's a gift and it's a Christmas miracle, and I'll forever cherish it.
Hey, it's Gary Busey, and I have got a great Christmas present for you. Listen to this. Honk! Honk! That's what a goose sounds like when they're flying. They're letting you know they're up there. Honk! Honk! You get a bunch of geese together. Honk, honk, honk. They're honking in the air.
Merry Christmas. This has been The James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.